I love making ice cream. It's terrible for you, but it tastes great, like many things in life. I'd like to dedicate this episode to Wyatt. Wyatt, I know your dad wanted me to show you how to make chocolate chip cookies, but I wanted something a lot harder so that he'd be super angry at me. And then we're also going to make a graham cracker caramel crumble that goes on top. There are 3 components to the ice cream itself. The first is that we're gonna make a sweet fruit sauce. The second part is we're gonna make a custard. The third component we're putting in is the graham cracker crumble. You wanna start making this the day before you wanna eat it. If you get up really early in the morning, you could do it all in one day, but that's a lot of work, you know, and I don't wanna tire you out, and you're not gonna only eat dessert. I mean, maybe you only eat dessert. I only wanna eat dessert. We're gonna cook down some fruit, and we're gonna add sugar, a little bit of salt, a little bit of lemon, and a little bit of Grand Marnier to it. If you are underage and cannot obtain liqueur, just don't put it in, and it'll still be fine. So we have about 1.5 pounds of peaches, just about 4 medium-sized peaches, and we're gonna cook down 3 of them, so let's start by cutting them open. I like to just put the knife down up on the top, and then just rotate the peach all the way around until I end up where I started. Just give it a little twist, and now you have your peach in 2 hemispheres. Pluck off the seed. The skin has pectin in it. It helps, what does it help do? I don't know, it helps with the texture. Keep the skin on. The 4th peach we're gonna use later. I could have saved a bowl here by just, and then a 1/2 cup of sugar, which will 1/4 of a lemon wedge. Make sure you don't get any seeds in there. Finally, a small pinch of salt. I'd say maybe like 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon, lightly dusted. Don't underestimate salt, even in sweet recipes. We're gonna turn the heat to medium-high. Get it all incorporated in there.
How's that right hand treating you?
Not very well, actually. I should use the stranger. As the coulis starts to cook, the fruit will begin to release its juices. This is both the heat that's affecting the peaches, and it's also that the salt and sugar is drawing the moisture out of the peaches. Releasing more and more of the juices here, and they're starting to cover the peaches, which will help them cook down more evenly. The fruit will start to get very soft as you cook, maybe about 4 or 5 minutes in, and you can start breaking it apart with your spatula. If it starts to spatter at you, as in moisture's leaping out of the pot, then you can turn it down. That's how you know it's too hot. Get at this state right here where it's like a thick sauce with chunks of fruit in it. It looks really cooked down, and then just remove it from the heat. Now that we've heated up 3 of the peaches, we're gonna transfer them to a bowl. Then we're gonna get a tablespoon of Grand Marnier and throw it in there. Finally, for this last peach, we wanna cut it into a little bit smaller pieces because we're gonna be adding it. So take each hemisphere face down, chop it into little strips, and then you can kind of cube it-ish and just plop them in there. I love stick blenders. They're very useful, they're easy to clean, and they can do many different tasks without having to break out the big guns. And there we go, we got our coulis. Oh yeah. So the reason we mix a fresh peach in with the cooked peach is that cooked peaches and fresh peaches, they taste a little different, but they both taste peachy. And this gives you all sorts of different peachy flavors in one concentrated place. I'm going to cover this in plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge because we want it to get nice and cool for when we make ice cream later. We're gonna separate the whites from the yolks and the eggs. And why are we doing this? Well, the whites, they don't really have any of the properties that we want in the ice cream. The yolks, however, are thick and luscious and rich, and they also have something in them called lecithin. And the lecithin is what sets up a custard when you mix it with the milk. This recipe calls for 6 eggs. Have extra in case you screw up separating one of them because you'll just be so frustrated if you run out this way. Crack the egg, then you're gonna want to separate the 2 eggshells. And as soon as you separate it, you'll notice that a lot of the white just falls right off into your bowl there. And drop the yolk into the hand. Very lightly separate your fingers, not too much. Be very gentle with it because if it breaks, it'll just immediately run through your fingers and make you feel like crazy. Plop. After you've handled the eggs, wash your hands. Okay, so we have 6 egg yolks. We have buttermilk, heavy cream, salt and sugar, and we have some vanilla. Take 2 tablespoons of sugar, put them right in with the eggs. We're gonna whisk it all together, And then we can set this aside. For the second part of the custard, we're going to pour in 2 cups of cream, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 6 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Then we're going to stir it up briefly. And then we're going to turn our heat to medium. And the goal with this is to just get it barely up to a simmer. If we just stuck the yolks in there and started cooking it, they wouldn't really mix in well, and the proteins in the eggs would cook and curdle. So as soon as you start seeing these little bubbles, turn off the heat, get a whisk ready, and you're going to very slowly, while whisking the whole time, pour the cream into the yolks. Just keep it moving. And there we go. We've tempered our eggs. We're going to put them back in the pot on very low heat. And it's very important to turn the heat down here or you will scramble your eggs. Ooh, so I just noticed a little chunk in here. So I'll show you, if you do get a couple chunks, how you can recover this, and it's not a problem. First, take it off the heat as fast as you can. Then, notice how our custard is thickened really nicely, but we've got a couple chunks that are showing up in there. And this is another reason why I love immersion blenders, is they're very good for spot blasting this. Just a couple quick pulses. Recovery 101. You're going to want to pour it through a strainer into the final refrigeration receptacle. Ooh, nice and thick. 2 C's. Lift up the chinois and look at that velvety liquid coming out of there. Oh, you don't want to have egg chunks in your ice cream. You know, no one's like, would you like to have egg ice cream? Egg cream? Actually, egg creams are great, but they don't have eggs in them. Now that we got that in our bowl, we will add our cup of buttermilk. And we're going to do plastic wrap again and stick it in the fridge. It's good to know this is just a nice ice cream base. No matter what kind of ice cream you want to make, you could start with this. Let's get this in the fridge as well with our coulis. So this is going to require us to make caramel. So you need an exceptionally clean pot, a little bit of salt, sugar, cinnamon, brown sugar, and graham crackers. And a tablespoon of butter, forgot, sorry. And I'm going to take 4, count them, sheets of graham cracker. Yeah, so that's good enough. I got a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're gonna put more salt in later to taste, but this just kind of gets us started. Now it's time to make our caramel. We're gonna start with 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar. 1, 2, 3. Then you're gonna turn your heat to medium high to high. Shake it around to evenly distribute the sugar on the bottom of the pan. Cool, so you can start to smell cotton candy and it's gonna start to thin out. And so we can shake the unmelted ones around to even it out. So now that it's starting to brown up, we can toss in the brown sugar and notice it'll start changing much more rapidly. So I'm gonna remove it from the heat as we stir it in. And then we're gonna dump in the butter and finish the caramel by adding butter to it here. It's molten hot right now, so don't get anywhere near it. So I'm gonna pour it on top, mash it in there. We're pressing the powdered graham crackers into the hot sugar as it cools. And this is gonna add lots of air pockets in the sugar. Keep on folding it and pressing. Kind of like, I don't know, what's it like, Alex?
Like kneading dough.
Like kneading bread dough. So now it's cool enough that I can touch it. Get in there with your hands and really start to knead it in. And you're just gonna kind of crumble it in your hands. We're gonna wait 30 minutes for it to cool because then we can crush it some more and turn it into a nice little crunchy topping.
Holy basket.
Yeah. So while it used to be sort of malleable, now it'll just crumble apart. And that's what we're looking for. You can take any surface now and press it against the crumble and it'll break it into smaller pieces. And you want a nice combination of bigger and smaller pieces because that'll give you some cool texture. Oh yeah. You're gonna wanna put this in an airtight container because caramel is very susceptible to getting sticky when moisture from the air gets into it, and that's what causes it to stick to your teeth. All right, we're back. It's been about 16, 18 hours, and it's time to churn our ice cream. If you were to put it directly in the freezer, ice crystals would form that are pretty big in the ice cream. And that's when ice cream gets kind of a crunchiness to it, which isn't appealing. We want it to be as smooth as possible. If you put salt on ice, it causes it to melt before it comes up to the freezing temperature. So that means it creates a liquid that's colder than freezing, and that will move around and gradually freeze our ice cream while we're moving it. I use my dough bucket for dough to do this. You can go out and buy ice cream salt. It's rock salt that you can't eat. You can just use kosher salt if that's what you have. Take the coulis, add it to our custard base, and then we're gonna fold it in. So now you have these peachy swirls. Dump it into our Ziploc bag. Be easy to cause a horrible disaster right now. Oh boy, I'm speaking of horrible disasters. All right, got a little assistance from Alex here. Seal it up almost all the way. Press out any air that's still hiding in there, and then finish the seal in the bag. I'm gonna double bag this guy here, and then the same trick goes for the air. And since I have the ice cream salt, I'll just pour a chunk of it in there. And since I don't have enough, I'm gonna add some kosher salt to this, because whatever. Stick the ice cream in, get salty ice all around it. I have extra ice if I end up needing it. Now let's get that lid on, and now we just need to agitate it. I'm gonna put on some oven mitts here so that my hands don't freeze. I don't want frostbite just to get ice cream. Not worth it. So since there's a little bit more volume that's opened up on the top, I'm gonna put some more ice in there. Woo! Pop the lid.
Your wrist is really surviving through this?
Save yourself a gym membership. Make ice cream. And notice how the bag now maintains its shape when you move it, because the ice cream is now cold. We're gonna dry off all this salt water, cut the tip of our bag off, and we'll fill this guy, and then we just stick them in the freezer. It's cold water. We got our peach ice cream now. And we have our graham cracker crumble. Get a nice spoonful of the peach ice cream. Actually, I'm gonna do 2 spoonfuls. And then, to your liking, graham cracker crumble all over that. Time to taste this guy. Is it a guy? Well, the ice cream is so summery and peachy and bright. And then we have this, and it's creamy too, obviously. And then the caramel crunch with the graham crackers, it's just like all the best parts of that graham cracker crust you have on pies or cheesecakes or whatever, but it's crunchier. And together, it's almost like you have like a fresh iced peach cobbler. It's super good. So make some peach ice cream. Best batch yet. I'm glad we did all the...
You happy with the extra cinnamon in the caramel crumble?
Oh yeah. Actually, I kind of like it a little bit salty because it makes it...
Me too.
Like something's going on there, you know? We're gonna put the meat to meat. There's no meat in this.
Did you sneak some meat into there?
I stuck some meat into the heat. That's right. Last night, we were doing the taste testing, and I ate like a quart of ice cream by myself.
Are you gonna eat more today?
Yes. Right ever since ago, it's a deconstructed, it's either lazy and they're giving you all the ingredients and making you do the work, or it's just sort of like they chopped everything up and threw it together like it was already in your stomach and someone threw it up and you have to re-eat it, like baby bird syndrome or whatever. Okay, so let's taste this thing. Oh God, I just burped. So gross.